Good morning. Welcome to Songbird Homestead. I'm Kimberly. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm so glad to have you visit with me this morning. If you're returning, I definitely appreciate you coming back. It means I didn't bore the pants off of you or my previous video, so I'm happy to always have the support. I am a backyard homesteader up in I'm in Zone 7B, which for me that means I'm in Northeast Maryland, which is the town, its name, and the area. We're all the way in the northern eastern part of Maryland, almost to the Delaware line, maybe like 10 miles from Pennsylvania. Like we're right on that cusp there. So we've been here for about 2.5 years, my husband and I. We are, it's just the two of us in our home. Just a little bit about us, for those that don't know. We have four, I used to say young adult, but now they're adults. Late 20s, early 30s, the four of them. 2 girls, 2 boys, blended family. And we have 1 grandson. I'm not going to say grandbaby anymore because he's 8. And we, of course, love all of them to pieces. Like I said, we've been here for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. And we love it. We're on about 3/4 of an acre, which is just enough for us. Our primary goal here is to disconnect ourselves from the corporate food world as much as we possibly can. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of sprays and chemicals and environmental impacts and that sort of thing that we just, we're trying to do the little we can. When I was at the store recently and I saw someone with, lots of produce, but they had like their bananas in a plastic bag. They had and if you do this, I got to do what I think is important. So if you do this, that's fine. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but I guess maybe I am. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm, in my brain, I'm probably thinking, why do you have bananas wrapped in a plastic bag? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, she had like bananas in a plastic bag, apples in a plastic bag, grape, all these things in plastic bags. And I'm thinking, and I kind of count in my head, I'm like, you got like 6 different, now great job that she's, buying produce and healthy types of foods. But I'm thinking, why do you have all the plastic? You get home and you'll have like 7 or 8 plastic bags you gotta throw away, in addition to the plastic bags that you carried your stuff in. I'm not even talking about the stuff that you carry. I've been using reusable bags for a very long time. But anyway, just my low key, me being me, just I guess judging when I should mind my own business. But still, for us, I think about those things. So I like that when I come home from, the store, the stuff that I buy is in packaging, but like when I go out to the yard and I pick, some tomatoes and cucumbers and some peppers and, sorry, if you hear that, see, chicken mom, yeah, that's what that means. Like I don't know if you can hear them. They're going to interrupt us probably quite a bit, but they're out living their best chicken life. We're running around the yard, which I love that for them, eating all the bugs that they can. But regardless, I like for me that when I, go out and I pick my grapes or I pick, whatever from my yard, I don't have a plastic package to come home and then throw it away. Like I just, so there's that piece, there's the chemical piece, there's the, there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of benefits to growing your own food, which is why we do it, right? Plus it's, for me, by having easy access to it, I'm more likely to eat it. It's like I put this hard work in, so I don't want it to go to waste. So I try to incorporate always new ways of cooking things. If I have a basket or something on my counter of, okay, well, what am I going to do with this zucchini? I don't want it to get wasted, so I'm going to force, for lack of a better way to put it, myself to use it. So it's really made a difference for us being able to increase our the foods that we're eating, getting more fiber, more polyphenols, more flavonoids, all those things. Which is ultimately good for our health because, that's at the end of the day, the longer we can live and enjoy this beautiful life that we've created, my husband and I'm speaking specifically about, the better. All that to say, today I am going to talk a little bit about, probably a lot about peppers. I find that when I do my my garden tours, you know, I might touch on something here and there, but recently it's been put on my heart a little bit. Like I've really been feeling like it's important to teach people how to grow food. And the other part of that is, somebody said to me recently, well, that's a lot of, you know, I don't know, tomatoes or something. I forget what it was. And they said, I wouldn't even know what to do with all that. Well, my friends, that's why I'm here. I'm going to try and not only teach people to grow food, but I also want to teach people and show people different things that we do with the food, you know, what you can do with it once you have this, you know. I mean, I picked this just this morning. Like I went outside this morning and was like, all right, I want to process some peppers. I want to talk about some peppers. I'm going to close this window. That might be better for now. There we go. There we go. But when you end up with an abundance of something, or even if you have one plant and you have a couple of, it's great to throw a jalapeno plant in the ground, but if you don't, well, first of all, if you don't eat them and you don't think you're going to incorporate them into your diet, then you really shouldn't grow them, because what's the point, unless you're going to give them away, which is okay too. But when you end up with an abundance of stuff and, you know, you don't know what to do with it, like I said, even one plant, you know, it's a waste. So I want to show you just some things that I do with the peppers. And I will go back to say, I grow a lot of peppers. I have 8 raised beds. Now the beds are like, well, you'll probably see them in the video. Or you've probably seen them in my past videos. They're like 3 foot by 2 foot, maybe 18 inches tall. So, and each one of those probably holds between 6 and 8 plants, depending on how ambitious I feel. Now, there's probably like a rule of thumb that I do not follow. You know, they tell you space them out, X amount. I'll just tell you right up front, I do not do that. I am all about like just, I don't put as many as I can because I could do more, but I do put them in there pretty thick. But as a result, I get a lot of, I don't know, even with like my tomatoes, same thing, my tomatoes, my herbs, my cucumbers, everything. I don't follow the rule in the packaging. Shocker for some of you that know me. But like I said, I think it yields better results. And then also if one of them dies or something, then you know, you're not really losing as much. You know, you can just pull that plant out and you still have enough. Regardless, like I said, I do grow a lot of peppers. So the average homeowner, you know, if you have a backyard garden or just a bed, what I call and some call a kitchen garden, which is just something like right near your back door where you can grow 2 tomato plants, a pepper plant, whatever, you know what I mean, 2 little herbs, you know, something, you know, like a smaller scale than what I have or what a lot of people have. A lot of people only have, you know, or even like your deck or something like that, you know, I mean, your patio. Most people aren't going to grow, I think the average homeowner is not going to grow the amount of peppers I do. Even like homesteaders, I don't know. My husband likes spicy foods. I've talked about this in previous videos. It's one of the first things that I grew for him. I don't know what year that was, 2014, 2015. I'm not sure. I bought a cayenne plant, not even knowing it was a dragon cayenne, which the dragon cayennes are like these little cayennes, which he loves them. So I grew them. I had like 2 plants or whatever. I think 2 of those and like a habanero. Put one in the ground, one up on our deck, and the one on the deck just completely blossomed. And we had so many cayenne peppers, and he was blown away by the flavor, the taste, the heat, all of that. It was really eye-opening for him. Now, I had some experience with that sort of thing earlier, but I guess he never had homegrown or home-picked, like whatever. And it really makes a difference when you grow it yourself. You know, and I won't get into all that, how the big food people, they pick them unripened across the country or in states away, and then they're not ripe. They gas them to get them ripe. They just do all this other stuff to get them to ripen. You know, the flavor is just not this. It is not the same. Jess from Roots and Refuge always talks about how, like, and I'm paraphrasing maybe, how store-bought tomatoes taste like disappointment. That's how I feel with like cucumbers and strawberries. Like I'm not a big tomato, like I grow a lot of tomatoes, but I don't eat a lot of tomatoes. I process them and eat them in soup and sauce and salsas and stuff like that, or I'll put them on a sandwich. But I'm not a big tomato person, but I know other things like strawberries, like I said, our grapes, our cucumbers. It is unbelievable the difference that homegrown the flavor is, which is, again, how I got started with the peppers. So like I said, I do grow a lot of peppers, and today what I want to do, I want to go over, and this is going to be a long video, so bear with me. Pour yourself a cup of tea or coffee or whatever. I'm a tea drinker myself, or water, whatever. I don't care. Pour yourself a shot of whiskey. Have at it, I don't care. But I'm going to talk about the different types of peppers that I have, and the different things that I do with them. Like I said, this is all just from this morning. So the first one I'm going to start out with, and not all peppers are hot, not all peppers are spicy. That's what I think a lot of people think about when they think about peppers. They're like, I don't like hot food, and that's fine. I don't do a lot of heat. I'll do jalapenos. I'll do a little bit of habanero. I've increased it since I've known my husband, who eats these guys raw. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it, but he has a very high tolerance because that's the kind of food he grew up eating in his Hispanic home. So, besides the heat, they do have a lot of other benefits. They have a lot of vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K, which obviously is good for immunity. Like I said, they have flavonoids, they have polyphenols, they reduce inflammation. They're actually good for like heart, for like blood pressure and stuff like that. Now, my thought is you probably have to eat a lot of them to have those benefits. But even a little bit incorporated into your diet is, all those little things add up. So in addition to some of the health benefits, the minerals and vitamins and all that other stuff, they have the heat, but there are some that are not hot. And obviously I'm talking about your basic green pepper, which I don't have. So these are my green peppers. They're not very big. For some reason, my green peppers never get real big. I don't sweat it because I tend to get a lot of flowers on my pepper plants, and I do a lot of flowers that bring in pollinators, and so the flowers I do get, they produce a lot of stuff. Now, for some reason, it's just my green peppers that never get real big. I did have some earlier in the season that were bigger than this, but if you see, so this is green, this is red, obviously. They will change color. So they start green and then they turn to red. A lot of people don't know that with your green peppers, they start green, and then depending on the variety, they can turn different colors. There's yellow, there's orange, there's red. Usually if you let the green one stay on the thing, unless it's a true green bell pepper, it will eventually change color. Now with these are great to have. Now, because I produce so many of lots of different things, it's really important to know what to do with these, how to preserve them. These I like to, and I'm going to show you. So these are my green peppers that have started to churn. And I'm going to put this in the freezer also back in. But I cut them up. So I have this big bag. It's a reusable. I love these reusable bags because again, it reduces the plastic and all. But I cut them into little. See, I just cut them. Wow, and that's amazing. These have been in here. Let's see if we put the date. It says August of 25, so it's been a couple weeks maybe. And I cut them in all different shades and colors. Like these are the ones that were orange. I have some green in here. Sometimes I'll cut onion and throw it in there for fajitas. We like them for fajitas. But you can also take out a handful of these, cut them up and fill them in, food or stir fry or that sort of thing. And these will keep, and the good thing about these, and it's one thing I like about peppers, tomatoes, you pick them all and you process them all kind of at the same time. Same thing, pickles, peppers, I can pick 7 today, 7 tomorrow, a couple days from there, and then you can just keep adding, and then, or I can just cut these and throw these in, cut them tomorrow and throw some more in. Next week, cut some and throw them in. You don't have to process a whole lot of them and make it too complicated. I think us as humans, we like to complicate things or overthink things. I am a busy woman. I'm an organized woman. I am all about doing things as simply as I can. So that for me, I'm gonna cut I might have a couple more in here of the green peppers. I'm gonna cut these and I'm gonna throw these, maybe not in that bag, but another bag, and just freeze them. So that's good. That's my green peppers, okay. They have no heat. The next pepper that I grow is, and let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 different peppers here, actually 8 different types, which is crazy. So let me back up. So I have the green peppers. The next heat up is the jalapeno. Same thing, they can be different colors. They start out green, eventually they'll get darker, and eventually they will turn red. Sometimes they get these lines on them. That's okay. You can eat them anyway. That's the next heat. The next one, this is a Santa Fe Grande. They have some heat. They're probably equivalent to a jalapeno, so they're good. This plant that I have here, the Santa Fe Grande, I don't know. It's like I have a lot of these, so I got to figure out what to do with these. I'm probably going to, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's the Santa Fe Grande. Same thing. They start out one color. They're going to eventually change. Now, you might think that they look the same. If you look real closely, maybe you can tell there is a difference. It's not really the same. I can tell the difference, and plus I grow them and pick them. But to a lot of people, they're like, well, it looks like some peppers look the same. That's that. Then the next one is our cayennes. I have dragon cayennes and Thai dragon cayennes. I think I have a Thai dragon cayenne. I think I have one here. This is what it looks like normally. These are drying over here. But these are that. And I also, same thing, they start at green and then they eventually will turn to red. They are a little hotter when they've changed colors, but the green ones can be just as hot. There are cayennes. Again, these are the dragon cayennes, and then the thicker ones are the Thai dragon, or the Thai cayenne. Then I have, excuse me, I have my habaneros. This is an ahi mango, and I grew all these from seed. I think I got these from Baker Creek. That's where I get most of my stuff. Usually, if I don't get it from Baker Creek, I will have remembered it, and I think these are all from Baker Creek. And this is the ahi mango, and it actually has a little bit of a fruity flavor. And this is a West Indies habanero. Same thing, they start off green. I don't think I have any green ones here. And then they turn yellow, orange, and then eventually they turn red. I like to leave them until they get to this point, but the weather's starting to change at night a little bit, so I'm trying to get this stuff processed. And not that we're going to get frost for another, 8 weeks or so. But I still like to get them off the vine and just, picked whatever. Again, so this is an ahi mango. It's ahi, A-J-I. And then this is the West Indies habanero. Very flavorful. My husband does love those. These are ancho peppers. A-N-C-H-O. Same thing. They can be different colors. So what you're probably seeing a trend, most of the peppers start out one color and they will eventually turn to their full ripeness of this color. You can pick them either way. They have more nutritional benefit if you let them grow until, if you pick them at the height of their ripeness. That's how they're designed. That's how God made them to be, that's how they're designed to be picked, is, at this stage. But they're still fine like this. And my issue, because it sounds like I'm double talking myself, because a lot of the big food companies, they pick them, like this guy, or I'll say this guy. Well, they'll pick it like this, and then they'll gas it to ripen it in big trucks, and they drive them across the country or whatever. But anyway, so the difference of this in your backyard is you can pick it like this. You're not going to gas it to get it ripened. You can put it on your counter. They will eventually turn. But this is what it looks like fully ripe. And this is an ancho pepper. And we'll talk about the use for all these peppers once I'm done with this piece here. This is a Trinidad gnarly scorpion. So all of these, like I said, I grew from seed, which I'm pretty impressed with that with myself. I do try to grow my stuff from seed, but I will pick up and supplement things that I see if I'm out, whatever. This pepper here, I was at the local farmer's market, and this couple had a table of nothing but cups of peppers. What I thought was cool was they had like, they had green cups, maybe yellow cups, red cups, like the solo cups, and then they had black. So the green were the green peppers, those types of things that aren't hot. And then they had some, you know, as the Scoville, which is the unit they measure the heat for a pepper, as that increased, the color of the cup was, so these were in black. These were in black cups. This is a gnarly Trinidad scorpion. Same thing. So this is how it is when you pick them. This one fell off. I wouldn't have picked this one, but this one fell off. And this is mid-turning, and then this is red. Now I bought them again because my husband really likes hot food, not thinking he was really going to be able to just eat this. Now he took one of these. He's working today. He took one of these in his lunch, and he'll just bite that and eat it. Now he won't eat this whole pepper because that's a lot of heat. You know, maybe he nibbles at it. I'm not sure. But like, that's craziness to me. Like, you know, so he actually likes these. So I'm gonna have to make sure I save these seeds, which I'll do another video on that, but save the seeds so I have these, because I don't know if I'll be able to get a hold of these again. But anyway, so that's all the different types of peppers I have. Peppers, to grow them, I start my stuff inside at like February, beginning of March, latest mid-March. And I take care of them, and then they usually go out beginning of May, right around, I think, Mother's Day. This year we had an unseasonably end of April, beginning of May. So I put mine, I think, like the last week of April. I got lucky. We didn't have any more frost, and it paid off because I've had a very good abundance of crop this year. All my stuff has done amazing. I'm so thankful, except my eggplant, which didn't do anything. But regardless, but that's when you put them in. You know, it takes a while to start producing. You know, you do have to put a lot of work and labor into the front end of it. Like I said, you start them in February, March latest. You take care of them. You put them in the ground. Man, you don't get peppers until like July. I think a lot of people give up on stuff before it starts to fruit or come to fruition, which is a root word there for that. But if you just hang in there, once they start putting out, I find that peppers are just, I don't know, I think they're just really easy to grow. They put you get a lot of yield for the work now. So once I start picking them, once I start picking them in July, I'll pick peppers probably all the way through October. Easy, I'm gonna say. So yeah, because of the work is in the front end, you get the yield of it. Like right now, my garden is it's kind of on like you know, on self mode. It's just you know, I just go out there, pick it. I still have to do some stuff, but especially with peppers, you just, you know, once they start putting out, and the more you pick, the more you're going to yield. Most vegetables, fruits, and stuff like that, if you continue to pick them, they're going to continue to put out product because they want to continue to survive. And so if they think once you've left it on the plant and it goes to seed, or they start to dry on the vine, they think that they're done their job. They're done producing. They've done procreating and providing, you know, product. So then they'll stop producing. Same thing with flowers. If you deadhead your flowers and cut off all the dead flowers that are in the ground, they'll continue to produce blooms. But if you stop with that, they'll just produce less. So once the peppers start producing, you just, you know, you pick and keep picking. And like I said, I go out there every couple of days, and I wasn't expecting to get this is a big basket. This isn't like a little shallow basket. This is a pretty big basket. And actually I took some out of this already. And I'm doing this like probably, if I didn't pick during the week, I would probably get this basket full once a week, I'd say, which is, I think that's a lot of peppers for 2 people. So it's important for me to know how to produce them. And for you, I'm going to tell you, like I said, what I do. Like I said, I already went over the green pepper. We like to slice them up into, and I do mine long ways, so I can use for fajitas or whatever, but you can chop them. And a lot of people do the same thing with like onions and freeze them, but you can chop them in whatever kind of, I find it's better to leave them bigger and then cut them small if I need them, then cut them small, and then I don't have them for fajitas. But that's the green pepper. The next one I'm going to talk about is the ancho pepper. I grew these. My husband, he makes a really good enchilada sauce. He makes really good, his enchiladas are like my favorite food in the whole world. And we've always bought dehydrated anchos. Now there's a place, it's called Jalapeno Market, and we would buy like a little plastic, I don't know, maybe it was 16, a pound, maybe 8 ounces, 16 ounces, again, maybe, and it would be like a couple dollars, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when I can buy a pack of seeds for $4, plant them and get like a lot. So that's one of the benefits of growing your own food. But the ancho peppers, what we do is, now obviously we're not going to use all these right away. I want to preserve them, right? So what I do with these is I dehydrate them. I do have a dehydrator. It's right here. Now I have the Excalibur, like the 9-tray Excalibur. It was a couple $100, like $300 regularly. Amazon Prime had a sale. I knew it was coming. I knew that Amazon Prime is coming, so I had planned for it, and I did. It is an investment, but I'm going to tell you, we have dehydrated quite a bit of different things. So that's what we do with our ancho peppers, with a lot of these peppers. Now, what I do is in the dehydrator, I'm going to give you a rough estimate of like the time and the temperature, but what I find is dehydrate them, open the door. If they're not done, put them back in, because I don't know. I'll see someone will say, 8 hours at whatever temperature. I don't feel like it's ever. I'm like, did you really try that? Because it took me like 24 hours, whatever. But whatever, and every dehydrator is different, even though the temperature is a certain thing, there's humidity factors, whatever. I'm not going to get into the science of that. All I know is you got to dry them. So you'll see these are what they look like once they're dehydrated. And I leave the stem on them. You can cut the stem off, open them up, whatever. Again, like I said earlier, I'm all about simple. Look at that. Here, it's like crunchy. I have a whole bowl full of these. So what I'll do is, I have these, I dehydrated them. I'm gonna put these back up here. I'm gonna do the same thing with these guys. I have some in the dehydrator, actually. Let me show you those. You can see, so they've gone through 2 cycles, but see how they're still like, they're soft, they're moist, there's a moisture content still in there. You want them to be dry and crunchy like the ones I just showed you. And that holds true for anything that you're dehydrating. You want to get as much moisture out, unless you're going to eat them. Sometimes I'll do like peaches or pineapple or mango, and I'll do them so that they're still a little bit soft, almost like a fruit roll-up type or a something like that. Fruit snack type thing, but I'm going to eat them like that week. They won't go bad. But these, I'm going to store these in a jar, and probably like a gallon mason jar, until we need them. And what that looks like when we're ready to use them is, I'll cut the stem off at that point, or take the stem off at that point, and I will throw them use them just the same way that we did the ones that we were buying. We'll throw them in a pot with some onion, garlic, whatever he does to make his enchilada sauce, and then they rehydrate. So you're taking all the moisture out of them. Then you can save them, and they won't go bad. They won't go moldy or anything like that, because all the moisture's out. And then when you want to use them, then you just rehydrate them. That's the same, like I said, for lots of different things that you can dehydrate. And you can do that with mostly, I don't want to say anything, because that's a very broad stroke statement, but that's what we'll do with these peppers. He'll throw them in the pot with his garlic and seasoning and onion and all that, and make his enchilada sauce. And then it can be February, and we can have enchilada sauce from our peppers with our flavor that we grew, with no chemicals, no packaging, and that sort of thing. That for me is like the big picture. That is the why. That is why we do this. So that's the ancho pepper, again, ANCHO. And you may not be interested in these different types, but I just want to teach you about the process a little bit and like what we do with them. Cayennes are we love, my husband, he, like I said, these are the ones that he, and I always joke, I've told this before, I think at that moment is when he decided he was going to keep me forever. Because peppers, that's the way to his heart, evidently. But the cayennes are, like I said, they're his absolute, they've always been like one of his favorites. And one of the things that we like about the cayennes, they're so versatile. Like, so see this little bowl? No, it's empty. I'm refilling it. I keep this on my table, and when we're having dinner or breakfast or whatever Sunday morning, he'll just grab one and eat it. Like, it's just part of his meal. And then also same thing, like I fill a couple of them in his lunchbox. These will eat the whole thing, not so much these other guys. But these cayennes, he will eat them. So fresh, they're amazing. Like, they're just, and they're small. They're like snack size, right? Preserving them, there's lots of different things that we like to do with them. I'll do, and I'll talk about the jalapenos, pickled jalapenos. I'll fill one in with my pickled jalapenos just for a little extra heat. It's a sweet and spicy. It's like a salad dressing. It was supposed to be a little thicker. It didn't gel up like I don't know what I did. I'm not sure. I've never had that happen. But regardless, it's actually an amazing like salad dressing or like whatever, that kind of thing. And this is something I want to talk about. And I was going to do a separate video about this, but I think one of the things, and I'll get back to the cayenne uses, but I think one of the things that I struggled with the most when I first started preserving food, or really canning food or saving food, growing food, and this is very important. This is an epiphany for me. This really helped me. I struggled with, so for example, I made tomato soup, the base for cream of tomato soup earlier this year. Now, I didn't put the cream in because you can't water bath can dairy. So when I heat it up, I'll add my cream. It turned out amazing, by the way. But I just went downstairs and I saw that on the bottom, it's a little bit of liquid, and then the tomato, it just doesn't look like, if I opened a can of cream of tomato soup from Campbell's and then showed you mine, you'd be like, well, that looks funky. I had to get it out of my head that the food I grow, the food that I preserve, is not going to look like what is on the shelf of a grocery store. And I'm talking about preserved food specifically. I'm talking about, like, stuff separates. There's more headspace in your pickles. The consistency might not be the same. I made spaghetti sauce maybe 2 years ago, and it was just thinner than it wasn't the same consistency and the same flavor, which was okay, as what if I opened a can of whatever, Ragu or Prego or I don't know, whatever else is out there. And what I had to come to terms with, and something that really was an aha moment for me, was I don't want it to be like what's on the store shelves. The stores should not be telling us what our food should look and taste like. That is not the standard. I don't want to be doing, sorry, I'm going to get a little bit excited, I guess, about this, but I don't want my food standard to be set by the grocery store. I don't want Food Lion or Giant or Publix or Weiss or whatever grocery store you have. I don't know where you live, but I don't want the standard of in my home to be set by what is on the grocery store shelf. I don't want that. I don't want it to look like it. I don't want it to taste like it. I don't want the same ingredients. I don't want this. I don't want that. I had to take those blinders off that is what good looks like, that is what food should look like. Because that Franken food that they sell at the grocery store is really not what food should taste like. 100 years ago, or gosh, how more than that, like, I don't know, 75, I was going to say 45, 50 years ago, but that was only in the early 70s. 70 years ago, 100 years ago, when someone went outside, and they picked some things and they came in and they made food on their stove or over their campfire or whatever with what they had, that is what the food was. The food dictates, and the cook dictates what that food should be. Not some corporation that's selling us unhealthy frankenfood garbage that's full of no nutritional value. Not good. So for me, I had to really, really change the way I think about the food that that I'm preserving. I was like, it doesn't look the same. Well, that's, you know what? It's not, you don't want it to. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. You don't want it to be like that. You don't want it to taste like that. If I did, I would just buy that. No, I want my food. And if it looks a little differently, and if my tomato soup base separates and there's a little water on the end, I'll just shake that up. I'll just shake it up, heat it up, add my cream, and it's going to be like the best. I cannot wait to open a can of cream of tomato soup up, or a jar, not a can, it's a jar, that I grew, that I preserve, that I say that I can have. I'm going to open that up and eat it with a grilled cheese this January. Oh, and pour over my seed catalogs for next year. I cannot wait. I'm the simple girl. That's all I want in life. Well, that's not all I want, but regardless, preserving food, it is okay if this doesn't gel up. Like, again, it was supposed to gel up, and I wanted like a dipping sauce for like shrimp, or you get in like Asian restaurants, like like a thick, like, it didn't. So I'm gonna do something else with it. I turned it into salad dressing or another kind of liquid dip. Now, I got some negative feedback. I gave somebody a jar of this, and they were like, yeah, I wasn't a fan. Well, guess what? That person won't get any this year. That's how I feel about that. Anyway, so cayennes, right? Great on a table. I fill in my husband's lunchbox. Add it to this. I add one to my pickles just to, I'm sorry, these are my jalapenos. Did I say pickles before? Jalapenos. I also add them to my dill pickles just for a little bit of a kick. The other thing that we do with cayennes, see this big bowl? I've been picking this bowl. This has been for weeks. I just keep picking them, and I'm just kind of do this. I'm just letting them dry out. Eventually, when we have a little bit of time, my husband and I will sit and we'll take fishing line, and we will thread, and we'll have a long string of them, probably a couple strings of them, because we got so many peppers this year, and we hang them in my kitchen. I don't have any hanging nail. I have a nail there, and I let them dry. And then once they've dried, look at that. This is cayenne pepper. They'll dry and they'll be like crumbly like the other ones we showed you. We put them in, we have a little baby grinder that we use, and we'll process these. You could use a bunch of different things, mortar and pestle, a grinder. Some people will throw them in a food processor. I don't have a food processor. Believe it or not, I don't know why or how, but I prefer a knife and a cutting board. I don't know, that's just how I am. I don't know. I'm just a simple girl. But this is not a lot left. He did a couple of these earlier. This might have been what was left from last year, but and it's just cayenne pepper. We'll use it in our enchilada sauce with our dehydrated, wherever they went, our dehydrated anchos, and for our enchiladas, we'll throw it in there. We'll also, when we end up having all these different dehydrated pepper powders, we're going to make our own rub. It's something we've done our own rubs, but we're going to really make like a blend that we like. But this is just cayennes. So this started out as these. We dried them, we ground them up. It's not hard, guys. Like, I know it probably sounds like a lot. It's not a lot. It's not hard. But that's our cayennes, and again, we love those. They're a staple in our house. I think I talked about the jalapenos. Jalapenos, Very basic, you know, probably tons of things, you know. We obviously, you know, we like to stuff them with cream cheese. I don't do the bacon wrapped ones. I just don't. I don't know. It's not my thing. Even though I do like bacon, but we will stuff these with the cream cheese. Same thing. My husband will eat these. He's kind of graduated past these. He's graduated past these, even kind of sort of now. He's, like I said, moved on to these. But jalapenos are really good for. You can stuff them. You cut them up, saute them in a stir fry, put them in an omelet, eggs, burritos. You know, dinners, different things. I pickled a bunch of them because we have so many. I did pickle them. Very easy. You know, my husband will eat these on salads, on tacos, that sort of thing. The other thing I really like to do with jalapenos is I make a really good salsa verde. I just saute, I roast my peppers in the oven on, like, I don't know, 250, however long, till they get soft. You know, I'm really bad with like time and temperature. I just do it till I, you know, but it's hard when I'm trying to explain to somebody how long or whatever. But I'll roast them, just lay them on a pan, you know, just in there on a sheet pan, and then until they get soft. And then in the meantime, I'll saute like tomatillas with garlic that we grew. Onion, whatever, a little bit of salt, and then take the stem off. I usually take the seeds out, and then just grind them up and put them in a jar, and it's a salsa verde. A green sauce is what it is. It's a jalapeno green sauce. And again, my husband, it's like he loves that. It's like his favorite. I make him green sauce and his like tail wags. He's like a little puppy. He's like, oh, I'm so excited. So like I said, we stuff them, we put them in lots of different things. I pickle them, I make green sauce with them. Very easy to grow. One plant will give the average person enough, you know, especially to eat fresh. But if you like to preserve them, plant a couple plants. So we did those, and then these are Santa Fe Grandes. I don't know. I planted like 4 of these, and I don't know what to do with them. I'm probably going to dry them, and then also I did pickle them. Here's some of them I had pickled yellow just because I thought they were pretty. Same thing, so I'll throw a couple of cayenne in there. And again, we'll put these on tacos, you know, on top of different, you know, things, whatever. Not a lot I can say about those. I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably dehydrate them and turn them into a powder, and then you know, do all that with. Let's see. Next, these are habaneros. Again, this is where I start to get a little bit tentative because I don't like spicy food as much. But they're very fun to grow. I'm going to show you this here. Oh. So same thing, like they start off green, they turn colors. These I'm going to dry, or I am drying. So these are some that you can see these. I cut these up and dehydrated them. Hear how they're like crunchy. These are the same thing. I did these whole. These took longer. I think when you leave the stem on, it takes longer, but listen. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll throw that in the jar. So these are habaneros, same thing. My husband wants these dehydrated. He would like to turn these also into a pepper. And I say like he wants them. He also helps me with this. It's not like I'm doing like he wants it, so I'm doing it just as he wants me to. But this is what we want to do with these. So once these are all, I have them all dehydrated, I will then grind them up and I'll turn them into a powder like this. Put them in a separate jar. Again, we're trying to make our own, some kind of blend that we like for rubs and stuff. So in the meantime, these are just kind of sitting up here. There we go. It's my pepper station. It's so funny, like in the, when this time of the year, now I have processed most of my tomatoes. We're still getting tomatoes, but I'm probably not going to process anymore. But we have, now I have peppers just everywhere. But again, so I have these are the ahi mangoes, and these are the West Indies habanero. But aren't they, they're just beautiful. They're just so pretty. Like, now I'm doing these in order of heat. Again, green peppers, not a lot of heat. The ancho peppers are a little pepper, but not really hot. The cayennes are hot. The jalapenos aren't as hot as the jalapenos would be next. Then the cayennes, the habaneros, the Santa Fe Grande are in there somewhere. I'll put these all back in here. I have to separate all these. Again, this last one, these are my Trinidad Gnarly Scorpion, or I think that's what they're called. Trinidad Gnarly Scorpion, I think is what they're called. These, like I said, I've never grown these. Now there are a lot of them out on my on the plant, like they're still turning. So again, like I said, one of the benefits of peppers is I can pick some, put them aside, pick some, put them aside, pick some, put them aside. And then once I get time, then I'll throw them all in. Typically, my dehydrator, like right now, my dehydrator is normally running. Like I'll put it on for 8 hours and then come back to it when it's done, turn it, assess, take some stuff out if it's ready to come out, add stuff to it, and just keep going. Like I just, just it's constantly running. So that's what I'll probably do with all of these. I haven't these are just like in the last week or two have just started to like turn and ripen. So we, I'll go ahead and, he's been eating them as they've been picking. So now I'm finally at the point where I have some that I can dehydrate. I haven't done anything with them. And I think we'll also do the same thing, turn them into a powder or something like that. Maybe I'll freeze some of them just for fun, just to see what happens. But I'm finally starting to get enough of these guys that I can put some up. It's hard when you have a pepper lover in the house. He just, that's why I have to grow so many, because I want to be able to put some up, because it really isn't, there's nothing like, it's such a great, the flavor of saving and preserving, canning, drying, dehydrating fruit, whatever, and having it in the off season. Something I didn't mention was that you can do with peppers is really these are jalapenos, probably some cayennes in here. It's our homemade salsa. I made this year back in July. But you open I remember, I think it was for New Year's last year maybe. We usually stay home for New Year's, and we opened a can of salsa up, I think, and had homemade salsa, whatever. To have like something out of the garden in December, you guys, it is just something like it's a shock to your system. You're like, it's cold outside, but then you have this marvelous like tang and sweetness and the acidity of the garden, the fresh tomatoes, whatever. And these are our tomatoes, these are our peppers. I think these are our onions. I grew a couple onions this year. I didn't have a lot of success, but it's our peppers, our tomatoes, our garlic, our onion, probably our cilantro. We have a little bit of cilantro. Like this is 100%. So I'll open this up, like I said, whenever in the winter, and it's almost like a shock to your mouth, because you're like, oh, it's not garden season, but like I've got this great product that it's really a weird kind of thing now that I'm just really like thinking about that. But anyway, peppers, like I said, they're a lot of fun to grow. They're I hope this was helpful for someone. I think they're easy to grow. I've grown them. We grew them at our other place. Every time I've planted peppers, my thing is I always, I have a journaling notebook that I don't fill out as much as I should. It's a garden journal notebook. I'm usually too busy gardening to actually journal it. But something that I write like every year is grow more peppers. You'll think it's enough, but it's not. This year I think it's enough. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comment below. I don't know if there's a way to send a message on YouTube, but I'd be happy to help if anyone has a question, like I said, it's kind of been on my heart lately to not just teach people about growing food, but to teach them what to do with the food that they're growing. I think it's important, and I really think it's good for your health. It's good for your mental state. I say this every video. I absolutely love it. I'll go out in the garden and I'll be out there. I can't wait to get out there. My husband's the same way. And both of us grew up like, in the concrete jungle. Like, I had a lot of green space in my neighborhood. I was lucky about that. But I grew up in Baltimore City. So that tells you if you've heard or know anything about Baltimore City. Now, I'll tell you, I had a pretty good growing child as far as like I don't know. Maybe there was stuff around. Never mind. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it because there was stuff around me. But regardless of all that, I didn't grow up in a garden with gardening family. It wasn't like my grandmother gardened. My mother did. I think my mother grew tomatoes one time. I remember my father grew them. I'm not even sure who grew them. And marigold. I just don't remember anyone. I didn't know of anyone even growing food till I don't even know. I don't know, an adult. I think I was an adult. Maybe, I don't know, in my early 20s. Same thing, my husband, he grew up in Texas, West Texas, El Paso to be exact. And he talks about having a pecan tree in his backyard. They had a lot of access to a lot of things that were not indigenous to this area. But regardless, same thing, he didn't grow. I think they had grapes. He talks about having a grape trellis at his house where he grew up. And same thing, a pecan tree in his backyard. But his family also didn't grow. Like, he didn't come from a family that grew stuff. So this is a whole new way of life for us. But we absolutely love it. It's been so great. I wish I had started sooner, but that's okay, because I started now and I have, hopefully decades and decades longer to go that I can do this. But anyway, I'm rambling. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know that's not an uncommon thing. Thank you so much for stopping by. I always appreciate this outlet. Again, if I can help one person to, I don't know a whole lot, but if I can just share a little bit of something, plant a literal, not literal, but plant a seed of knowledge in someone's head that might spark some inspiration for them, or make them feel like, I can probably do that. If Kimberly can do it, you can do it. Even though Kimberly's pretty capable of doing a whole lot of stuff, but I really think it can be done, again, on your patio, on your deck, your row home, your townhouse, what have you. I don't know about your condo, if you have a condo, because you probably can't. I don't know if you have any space, because there's no decks on condos, right? I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe you have 25 acres and you don't know where to start. Again, hope something I said helps you today. I hope you have an amazing day. I'm not sure what else I know what I'm going to get into, some of this. But anyway, thanks for stopping by Songbird Homestead, and I hope to see you again very soon.